Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Camille Prosperity out of Savannah/Pooler, Georgia. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about an interview that I saw yesterday. That I cannot stop thinking about. First, though, what I want you to do is, if you are watching on Facebook, click follow me and see first. A lot of you guys know that Facebook is doing a lot of really weird, well, all the social media platforms right now are doing really weird stuff with the algorithm. So go ahead and hit follow, see first, so you don't miss any of these great videos, because sometimes I'm giving deals that you guys are contacting me after the deal is off the table. So do that. YouTubers, same thing. Hit subscribe and hit that bell, because I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to love this video. And hey, what's going on? Instagram, do the same thing. Follow me so that you don't miss anything. Now, guys, in this video, what I'm going to do is talk to you about an interview I saw yesterday. Oh my gosh. Do y'all know who Derrick Grace is? Please. I mean, if you do, good for you. You're up on game. If you don't, I'm so happy that you're watching right now. All right. So Derrick Grace is basically a gentleman who, he's 32 years old. Last year in 2020, he made a little over $10 million, knocking right at $11 million. Now, here's the deal. What's so crazy about that? Doing that at 32 years old on the internet, the year previously, he was just under $2 million. Okay, so we're talking about more than 5 times the growth in 1 year. And with that year being the pandemic, that's quite spectacular. But then when you throw in the fact that Derrick Grace has like over 40 tattoos, many of them are on his face. He's very controversial. There's so many lessons that I learned in that interview about how he did what he did and why he is actually retiring from the very thing that made him infamous. Okay, so here are 5 things that I learned from that interview that I cannot stop thinking about. And I'm going to put the link to the interview in the comments down below of my Facebook page, as well as in the description box of my YouTube channel, so that you can watch for yourself. The whole entire interview in its entirety, it's worth it. But I'm going to give you my 5 high points from that interview, okay? The first one is, I have everything I need. The crazy thing about what Derrick Grace did is he's been on the internet since 2012, educating people, teaching people about investing and things of that nature, entrepreneurship, how the family should be the first business that you have, your family, okay? Now, 2012, quite some time ago, that's almost 10 years as of the making of this video. He was selling digital products all that time. However, when 2020 came, we have the pandemic, and also at that time we had Trump in office. Trump is doing a lot of controversial things online. What does Derrick Grace do? He capitalizes on the momentum that that Trump was creating with his antics. And Derrick Grace takes the same exact digital products that he's been selling online for years, and he repackages it and calls it the post-Trump pandemic package or something like that. Post-Trump pandemic pack. Okay? He literally takes the same exact thing he's been selling and repackages it with a name that gets people's attention. And in the video, he breaks down how people who love Trump and people who didn't love Trump bought the package thinking that he was going to say different things about Trump in the series, in the course, when really he only mentioned Trump's name one time. Because it was never a package about Trump. It was something he already had. When he said that, I was like, wow. Major revelation right there. Why? Because so many times people that are close to me are like, Kim, gosh, you got to do a course. You got to do a book. You got to do this. You got to do that. Meaning I have the knowledge right now to go wherever I want to go, make however much money I want to make. But because I haven't packaged it properly, I haven't had lunch either. But because I haven't packaged it properly, that is the reason why I haven't had like 5 times the growth in 1 year like Derrick Grace did. Okay? So we have everything that we need. We just have to think about how to package it in a smart way to 5, 10x, 20x our results. All right? That's the first tip. The second tip is have a team. During the interview, David Shands, who's over the Social Proof podcast, will ask him certain questions. And he did not hesitate. If that was not his lane, he said, I'm the marketing guy. But that right there, that's a question for you to ask my guy so-and-so. He's over this. He's over that. And there were literally people that were talking off camera and giving the answers. Now, I've seen this so many times. all of my mentors, all the people that this is like a clue after clue after clue. I don't know why it's so hard for me to get it through my thick head that I have to go ahead and get a team. I heard a story about a guy who, before he even made $1 in profit, he went ahead and created his team, because what a lot of people do is they create the business, they create the product, and then they assemble a team, and they're trying to basically like go back in time and put together all this stuff. Or they'll hire a team, but they can't even get the most productivity out of that team because they don't have any SOPs, systems and standard operating procedures. They don't have their SOPs or their manual or their instruction manual in place. So they're hiring these people. The people are wondering, what am I supposed to do? And they don't even have time to slow down to give them the proper training. So now they're firing the people because they're like, you're not helping me. But really, they didn't outfit them to help them in the first place, okay? So, super duper important, a team. Having those things in place. So that is something that I took away from that interview, because Derrick Grace, with all his almost $11 million in oh my gosh, in revenue from last year, he could not have done it by himself. So many of us are trying to get to a certain place. And there's a book called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Like, I don't care how hard you work. There's only so many hours in the day, and your efficiency decreases with too much work. All right. So have a team. The third thing I took away from that interview is don't sacrifice myself for others. Oh my gosh. Woo. Know when I'm tired and when I need to elevate and move on. And love yourself. So here's the deal in that interview. Derrick Grace, he's done a lot of very controversial things, but he's like, ultimately, I'm not worried about what anybody says about how I raise my kids. I'm not worried about anybody saying, oh, your kids shouldn't have guns. His 13-year-old son has a gun show on his network that he is creating. Y'all got to watch this interview. Okay? He's like, but he's teaching his kids the right way of how to handle guns, how to do certain things. Like, if you don't know, if you know, you know. If you don't know, you need to find out before you criticize, before you critique, okay? So, when Derrick Grace talks about loving himself, he is so in love with himself, he's not worried about what anybody else thinks. And guys, I see this all the time, not just with people who join my team, but entrepreneurs in general. They start a business and they want to say certain things. They want to do certain TikToks, or they want to dance on camera, but they're worried about what their pastor's going to say, what their mama going to say, what their client's going to say, if somebody is going to think they're talking about them. And I'm guilty of it too. That mental confinement is going to restrict your funds, and it's definitely going to make you not have as great an impact as you could. He said there's so much freedom in being yourself, and that is so true. When I say this man loves himself, he said he loves himself to give it all up. Meaning, him selling digital products last year, going from a little under 2 million in 2019 to over 10 million in 2020. Do you know he's going to let that all go? Why? Because he said it ain't fun no more. He said, I'm tired of spending hours on a Zoom teaching adults who don't want to learn. And for the most part, y'all, the majority is always the majority. The majority is always the majority. The majority of people say they want a thing when they really don't want it. The majority of people will sign up and do nothing. The majority of people is just the majority. So what Derrick Grace found is that he's spitting this education, he's spitting this knowledge. People are saying, teach me, teach me, teach me. They put up their money to learn, and then they come to class and don't implement. Or they come to class and they don't. Y'all drink y'all water today? They come to the class and they don't do their homework. They don't put in the work. So he said it just ain't fun no more. So the very thing that has made him over $10 million last year in a pandemic, he is retiring. And so the interviewer was finding it hard to wrap his head around it. He was like, well, why don't you just keep doing it? He said, because I don't love it anymore. So guys, let me tell you something. That right there struck a nerve with me. Because if I'm being honest with you, there are certain parts of my business that I don't love anymore. The only thing that keeps me in my business is people like Candy B, a single mom of special needs twins who went from having an account being negative almost every single day, to now seeing her growth, hearing how she speaks with more authority, hearing how she speaks with more wisdom, with more confidence, with more assuredness, hearing how she can now get herself out of a funk when before she used to seem so helpless. People like her that are a part of my team, they keep me going. But if I'm honest with you, there are parts of my business, like actually being on social media, that drive me crazy. So my wheels started turning, like, what am I going to do? Am I going to quit my business? No. Am I going to retire? No. But some things got to change. And that Derrick Grace interview really, really showed me that I need to know when I need to change things. Because what a lot of us do is we keep things the same for other people. So I know for a fact I'll be changing up some things in my business. Maybe you can still join my team with any package. However, if you want to work with me directly, it's going to be a requirement that you come in at a certain level. Because I'm going to be honest, it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. This is why a lot of people don't do what I do. It is heart work. It's not hard work. It's heart work. But it is exhausting watching people sabotage. It is. It is exhausting watching people come in and want the maximum, but only giving the minimum. So what was it? Number three, the number three thing I learned from Derrick Grace was don't sacrifice myself for others. And here's the crazy thing, guys, just to illustrate that, he was like, do y'all know that, he said, I look at people every day and I'm like, dang, y'all played yourself. The same thing I'm selling to you now for a much higher price, I've been selling for years for a lower price, but just because I repackaged it, you see what I'm saying? And people could have gotten that stuff in the season that he first released it. But there are seasons for everything, guys. And when the season is over, it's over. Don't you ever feel bad about making yourself not available to someone who wants you to do the most for the least when that season is over for you. As you elevate in your business and you have higher requirements, higher standards for your team, for your clients, don't you ever apologize for that. Love yourself enough to basically love yourself more than you love others. Because you have to. Ultimately, you have to live with you. And your family is depending on you. So don't sacrifice yourself for other people. Let them know when the season has ended. I love that. The fourth thing in this, we're almost done. It's only 5. The fourth is assume the sale. Guys, you got to listen to this interview. When Derrick Grace came, there was a guy on his team who made a proposition to David Chance, who was the interviewer, and he was like, hey, we did this drawing of you. Well, it turns out the drawing was an NTF, and he was like, here's how it's going to work. We're going to put it on our network, and for every image of you that sells, you're going to get, I think it was like 20 or 30%. David Chance was like, oh, okay, I thought this was a gift, but what did they do? They assumed the sale. They made him an offer that was irresistible. They gave him a gift, and then they said, we're going to monetize it. This is your image. You're going to get a cut of the proceeds. And David Chance couldn't refuse. Like, it was a win-win for both. Create those types of relationships. Create those types of transactions with people. Understand what makes people tick and speak their language. That was powerful. He didn't ask David Chance, do you want to do this? He went ahead and did it and said, this is how it's going to work. I was like, pure genius. The fifth thing is understand human psychology. And this kind of sort of plays on the fourth thing that I just said. When you're assuming the sale, it's easier to assume the sale when you understand human psychology. So here's what Derrick Grace was talking about. In the interview, David Chance was like, what's with all the face tattoos? And he said he did that to force himself into a corner so that he knew he would never get a job. He got face tattoos to make himself be successful. Because you ever heard the thing like go to war and burn all the bridges behind you? That's what he did with the face tattoos, okay? And he said a part of the reason for doing that was to push himself, like I just said. But the other part of the reason was he understands that people traditionally are intimidated by people with tattoos, especially people that would be bold enough to put a tattoo on their face. He said, so there are some negotiations that I walk into, and he said, I'm a quiet, cool, calm, collected person. But just because of how I look, locks, tattoos on my face, I'm a big guy, I wear gold chains. He said people are automatically intimidated by me just from my presence before I even open my mouth. So a lot of times I get what I want just because I don't have a lot of the obstacles that people who look normal or standardized have. I was like, wow. Think about that. I really, really want you to think about that. This is the reason why some people show up on social media and they're dressed to the nines all the time, because they know that a person whose makeup is done will stop the scroll before a person who's completely natural, showing all their faults and flaws. Is there a place for this? Yes, there is. However, traditionally, studies show, and I know just from testing it out myself, the cuter you are, the more people tune in to hear what you have to say. The more intimidating you are, the less people try you. So I was like, man, that human psych, and I say this all the time, sales is really just all about psychology. And it really is. But that interview was fire. Y'all got to go watch it. I promise you, you're going to take something from it. 32 years old, over 40 tattoos, went from under 2 million in 2019 to over 10 million in 2020 in a pandemic, using the same product he had been selling since 2012. All he did is repackage it, rebrand it, splash a controversial name like Trump on the basically on the cover, and what? More than 5 times the profit. And now he says he's done. Can you imagine what type of freedom how freeing it must feel to make over $10 million and then be like, I'm going to walk away from it because I'm no longer happy? Guys, watch that interview. I'm telling you, you're going to learn something. You're going to take away something that's not only going to help you in your business, but also in your life. The Social Proof podcast, they continue to bring it every single time. Derrick Grace, I mean, you can't deny the gentleman's acumen as it relates to business. The results are there. And what he's about to do next, I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to accomplish that goal. He ended the interview saying, I bet $1 million that I'll make $1 billion by age 34. He bets $1 million that he'll make $1 billion by age 34. And I believe him. All right. So to recap, the Derrick Grace Social Proof podcast taught me this. 1, I already have everything I need. I just need to know how to package it to make it more attractive to the masses. 2, have a team. You cannot do it all by yourself. And even if you can, you don't want to. 3, love myself enough to not sacrifice myself for others. 4, assume the sale. And 5, understand human psychology. That's it, guys. I see all the comments. Hey, Mary Stewart, happy Friday. Coach said, that's deep. I know, right? Drop some comments down below. Let me know where you all were watching from. Did you watch the full interview? Did I make you want to watch it? And what were the takeaways from this video right here that really stood out to you? I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.